Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. So how does this step of the 12 steps used in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and other 12-step programs, how does it relate to the Catholic faith? Well, it touches on two virtues, faith and hope. We as Catholics believe that Jesus Christ suffered and died for us and rose again in order to restore us. Along with that comes the virtue of hope. Now, when we look at the story of the Prodigal Son, we see the Prodigal Son after he spent his inheritance essentially wishing his father were dead by getting the inheritance and then spending it and wasting it. He ended up having to work on a pig farm after there was a famine. And he worked on a pig farm in a faraway land. This is symbolic of the idea of basically the Gentiles. And like in the culture in which Jesus was telling the story of the prodigal son, he mentions faraway country in order to make a point. So the prodigal son has reached a point of basically hunger, like deathly hunger. He was deathly hungry. And so he said to himself that the hired workers on his father's property have plenty of food and are in pretty good condition, while he himself was dying of hunger. And he said that he was going to go and rise and go to his father. So that parable in a way relates to both step 2 and step 3. Step 3 is that we turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So with the second step, there is this sense in which the prodigal son admitted his powerlessness, that there was really no way that he was going to be able to survive on his own, that the pig farm, that working there was not going to help him, and that he, essentially was living in such a way that was considered unclean and abominable to the Jews. So he had that understanding, and then he realized that his father would be able to restore him to sanity if he was repentant, if he expressed sorrow. And so he said that he was going to go to his father and say, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as your hired servants." Now, the prodigal son, little did he know is that his father was looking for him daily, and that his father's intention, his loving father's intention, was to restore him completely to sonship. And so when it comes to those who are beginning in recovery, and when it comes to those who are dealing with certain sins, especially Catholics who might continue to be struggling with the same kind of sins, which in some ways relates to those dealing with addiction, they might not fully comprehend just how much Jesus is willing to restore them. And so for people who are in 12-step programs, who might not even be Catholic or might not even be Christian at all, there is a similar concept of faith and hope. That there is this higher power that is able to restore me to sanity. And since we as Catholics have the fullness of truth, we can see how, perhaps even along with the 12 steps, God is able to restore us through His church, through the sacraments, especially the sacrament of the Most Holy Eucharist, and the second most blessed sacrament, at least in my opinion, of confession. And so, with that in mind, one can see how step 2 is aligned with church teaching.